Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. This is a short story of the type that's in my book, Soloists. They're flash fiction, short stories about introverts and outsiders facing a dilemma, and this one is called A Local Brainiac. The high school biology teacher asked, "What does a gap junction do?" She surveyed the room, saw only Jeremy's hand raised, and thought, "I should call on someone who raises their hand less often." To herself, she counted to 5, and when no one else raised their hand, she sighed, "Okay, Jeremy." Jeremy was hurt by the sigh and embarrassed that he was, as the kids called him, the Brainiac. So he intentionally sounded tentative and colloquial. Do gap junctions get ions into all kinds of cells, even into a horse?" He added the latter in one of his frequent attempts to try to fit in among the folk of Wyoming's horse country. Jeremy was ever faced with the choice of shutting up and being bored, dumbing down his words and being misjudged, or being his best and having his reputation reinforced as the Brainiac. Kids thought he was stuck up. After all, he couldn't continually hide his disinterest in the likes of horseshoeing, rodeos, and corral repair. But this day, when Jeremy got home, he checked his email, and yes, Harvard's decision was in, and the answer was yes. Jeremy was thrilled, but not too surprised. Despite a just okay SAT score, not only was Jeremy the school's best student, he lives in a rural area in Wyoming, and the school counselor told him that would be a big plus. She said, "Colleges want geographical diversity," and a while back, an admissions officer revealed another reason. It was a way of avoiding the college being filled with Jews and Asians. Jeremy quickly learned that the Brainiac in rural Wyoming was at Harvard, in horse country parlance, back of the pack. For example, an English professor asked the class, "What's your favorite book?" The first student answered Hamlet, and the professor smiled and riffed on Hamlet's wonders. The next student said, "Zadie Smith's entire oeuvre." The professor smiled and waxed on the wisdom of postmodern feminism. The professor's positivity gave Jeremy the confidence to raise his hand, and he said, "The Fountainhead," at which point 2 students snickered, and the professor pursed her lips and said just, "Might another student care to share her or his favorite book?" There were a few such embarrassments, but worse. Jeremy often couldn't understand the lectures or the readings. There was even a title he couldn't understand. CRISPR-Cas9 mediated excision of ALS FTD caused hexanucleotide repeat expansion in C9-0RF72 rescues major disease mechanisms in vivo and in vitro. That is the title. It's in a current issue of Nature magazine, by the way. In plain English, what does that mean? Editing a gene could cure ALS, which is a wasting disease, Lou Gehrig's disease. Jeremy quit Harvard, packed up, took a Greyhound back to Worland, Wyoming, and walked the 2 miles to his home, the ranch his parents inherited. Jeremy's parents hadn't envisioned living on a ranch, but his dad is a cryptographer who can work remotely, and his mom, a poet, values fresh air, open spaces, and low crime. So when they inherited the ranch, rather than incur the hassles and costs of selling, they moved there from New York. Jeremy's parents saw their quiet son become even more reserved on returning from Harvard, and the parents were wise enough to leave him alone and merely said that they were there if he wanted to talk. After a few unfocused days, Jeremy hiked to the Legend Rock petroglyphs. Those are ancient art carvings carved into rock outcroppings. And on the way back, Jeremy's mind was finally freed to think practically and honestly. He thought, "Should I teach English at the high school? Nah, kids aren't very bright and don't give a shit. I went to Harvard to get away from all that. Should I open a bookstore? They'd mainly want books on horses, buying them, training them, breeding them. Breeding. I've always been surprised that many people here breed horses almost at random. If their mare is in heat, they just find the closest frisky stallion. and the hot date often didn't end up hot. Or it worked, but the foal got some genetic disease like PSM, which causes excruciating cramps. New genetic tests can screen for many equine diseases, but out here, they rarely screen prospective parents. Could I educate farmers about it and get a referral fee from the best testing firm? Could a brainiac make a living at that, even if he's just a local brainiac? Anyway, that story is called A Local Brainiac. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel, and if you would take a look at my book Soloists on the internet, on Amazon. You'd have to Google, I guess, Soloists and my last name, Nemco, to find it. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemco.